كالطير أغناها وقد جابت سماء كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البلاء بشر وشيطان يحاصرني أمام كم مرة قد أظلم الدرب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How's everyone doing? Once again we're back for part 2 of Chain Takfir of the early Najdiyyah or Dawah Najdiyyah. I'm sure you were enlightened with part 1. Before we ended part 1, we were discussing the life and the reign of Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud, who was the son of Muhammad ibn Saud and the son-in-law of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, and we were talking about his reign. Before I start and address the life of the son of Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud, what I mean, and again Chain Takfir, I need to establish what this means, that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab accused the Ottomans of shirk and various other tribes around Arabia of worshipping graves, worshipping stones, worshipping trees, etc. So they made Takfir, and this Takfir led to thousands of people being killed from 1160 till obviously we're up to Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud. Now it's just not those who they accused of worshipping gravestones and trees as being kuffar and their blood being halal. It included those tribes who also aided those mushrikun, apparently according to Muhammad ibn Saud and the early Najdiya. You might not have necessarily been worshipping trees, you might have been upon Tawheed. But according to the early Dawah Najdiya, if you aided those mushrik who they declared as apostates, then you're an apostate and then your blood also becomes halal. So this is what we mean by Chain Takfir. So anyone that aided was also under the bracket of being kuffar and murtadun, where they can enter your fortresses and your areas and your provinces and, you know, take ghanima and kill you and besiege you, like we watched in part 1. So this is what we mean by Chain Takfir. And I honestly believe, if you want me to be completely honest, I believe this was politically motivated takfir. Whilst not denying that the situation in Najd was bad, I'm not denying that. But in relation to the way they were going on al-Ghazawat, remember the chapter heading in Tariq al-Najd by Ibn Ghandam, al-Ghazawat. So when they went to all of these tribes, I believe it was politically motivated. It was very politically motivated. But let's leave that to one side. So as you can see on screen, we got the book, Anwan al-Majd fi Tariq al-Najd. And now we're in the reign of Imam Saud ibn Abdul Aziz. So he's a grandson of Muhammad ibn Saud, the son of Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud. And they fought Ahl al-Batana and the rest of those areas that supported him. And their leader at that time was Azan bin Qais. And then he mentions that they killed from this army Maqtala Azima. Balagat al-Qatla 500 rajul. That they killed to the point that they fought and they killed over 500 men. Okay, they killed 500 men. Before we ended part 1, we showed you how Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud went and starved the people of Mecca, where they were eating dogs. They went to Syria, they went to Iraq and they slaughtered. This is what they were doing. This is how they were behaving. And now they're going to Oman, the son of Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud. Now Saud Ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud went to Hajj in 1224. And as you can see on screen, when he went to Hajj, he mentions that in that year, okay, وَلَمْ يَحُجْ تِلْكَ السَّنَةِ أَحَدْ مِنْ أَحْلِ الشَّامِ وَلَا مِصْرِ وَلَا إِسْتَنبُولِ وَلَا الْعِرَاقِ, except those who had protection and safety from Saud. So Saud basically did not allow anyone from the areas that were controlled by the Ottomans to perform Hajj. So he prevented all of these areas that were under the control of the Uthmani Khilafah that they were unable to perform Hajj. So you see that they had this mindset that if you did not agree with their da'wah, that the only Muslims on the planet was them. And they prevented people from coming Hajj. So remember we mentioned that they went to Oman and they killed 500 people in 1224. So strangely enough, a year later, if you look on screen, they went back to Oman, and he mentions they landed in Oman and they fought severely and they defeated the soldiers of Muscat, and the Muslims went, and listen to this, وَقَتْلُوا مِنْهُمْ مَقْتَلَ عَظِيمًا. Again, they killed so many of them. وَأَخَذُوا خِيَامَهُمْ. And they took their tents and they took their equipment and their cannons, and the Muslims, meaning the Najdis, who were the only Muslims on the planet, took so much ghanima. So that basically proves they fought the people of Oman as apostates. Now as you can see on screen there, it says Ma'arakatu Bahriya. So this is the fight or the battle in sea. So this battle here took place on sea. So to summarize this, they went to Bahrain. As you know, between Saudi and Bahrain, there's a sea. That it mentions that the Najdis fought the people, and to the point that there was so much killing between the two parties, and that the Muslims burnt their ships. Okay, burnt their ships. And how many people died? Okay, how many people died from the two parties? It states here, وَقِيلَ إِنَّ الَّذِي حَلَكَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْبَحْرَيْنِ 1400 رَجُلٍ. So the army of the people of Bahrain, it states here over 1,400 people died in this ship, in this battle that they had on sea. They burnt the ships and they killed so many people, so they burnt them alive basically. So over 1,400 of the Murtadun, according to them, were killed, and according to this, according to Ibn Bishr, 200 of the Muslims died. So you can see quite consistently that it's from 1160, and now we're in 1226, and look at the amount of terror that they were spreading. And this is the early Dawah to Najdiyyah. This is the point. So all of you lot are Islam against extremism, we're the real people that are against extremism, not this selective extremism that you like to point the fingers at the takfiriyun. The true followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab and the Najdiya are the takfiriyun. You guys are phonies. So if anything, condemn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab and the first early Da'wah to Najdiya, because they're the root for extremism. So in 1226, we're in the year 1226 now, and it mentions that Saud went on Hajj again in 1226, and it says وَلَمْ يَحُجْ أَحَدْ فِي هَذِهِ السَّنَةِ مِنْ أَهْلِ إِسْتَنبُول وَلَا مِصْرٍ وَلَا الشام, and none of them done Hajj. Again, they did not go to Hajj from the people of Istanbul, Misr, Egypt, Syria, and other than them, except that they had to get an agreement and security and protection from Saud. Okay? So this Saud gets quite brazen now. So he's gone to Bahrain and has committed massacres there. He went to Oman and he committed massacres there. Now, where does he set his sights on? As you can see on screen, it states here that Saud turns towards Medina. So now he goes towards Medina. On the way, when they went to Medina, they took some ghanima on the way. Great. They took a lot of ghanima. Look at that, straight away. They took a lot of ghanima, as you can see. And then it mentions they landed at the west of the Mount of Uhud, and they saw the Turks, meaning the Ottoman Turks. And basically, they killed 30 farisan, 30 horsemen. And then they ran away, and then the Muslims went to an area and started burning palm trees and killing men. Look at that, the people of Medina. And then they started taking territories around Medina. So, subhanallah al-azim, this is how you behave. So what I'll do now is I'll present a hadith, okay, from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam about those who terrorize the people of Medina. As you can see on screen, we have a hadith from Imam Ahmad's Musnad. And he mentions, عن صائب بن خلاد عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أخاف أهل المدينة ظلما أخافه الله وعليه لعنة الله وملائكة والناس أجمعين لا يقبل الله منه يوم القيامة صرفا ولا عدلا. It mentions that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, and this is narrated by As-Sa'ib bin Khalad, that whoever terrorizes the people of Medina with oppression, Allah would terrorize him. The curse of Allah, the angels and the people all together will be upon him. Allah will not accept his obligatory or voluntary good deeds on the day of resurrection. What an example, huh? Those fanboys and those who are just automatically by default programmed to defend this da'wah, this call. You gotta wake up, lads. You have to wake up. So we started at 1160 in part 1. Now we're in 1232, so that's nearly 70 plus years. And the Uthmani Khilafah started getting news about these, barbaric crimes that these individuals were committing, basically in the name of, chain takfir. So this tribe apparently worshipped trees and stones, but if you aid them by any support, like one of the great grandsons of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab said, that if you support them, i'ana, فَهِيَ رِدَّ الصَّرِيحِ, that this is clear that if you support him in any type of support. According to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab's interpretation, they could be worshipping trees and stones. But if anyone aids this tribe that worships trees and stones, then they are also kuffar, so they meet the same fate. Okay? So 1232 now. So the Ottomans had a viceroy in Egypt called Muhammad Ali Basha, or Pasha. Muhammad Ali يسير ابنه إبراهيم باشا إلى النجد. وفي هذه السنة جهز محمد علي صاحب المصر. He mentions that in this year 1232, that Muhammad Ali Basha, who was the viceroy of Egypt, he was Albanian, but he was the viceroy of Egypt for the Ottomans. He got an army together from Misr, from Rome, so they called them Europeans because they were Albanians / Turks. The West, والشام والعراق إلى النجد مع Ibrahim Basha, with his son Ibrahim Basha. And he mentioned that Ibrahim Basha with his brother Tusun Basha went to Ad-Durma. Okay, they went to Ad-Durma. The over 800 men died in this particular battle. So we're not condoning this particular affair. Obviously, it's loss of life and sieges and massacres and war is never a preferable option. But what I noticed with the conversations that have been happening with many of the brothers who are fond of this Dawah, when they study in Medina, they teach them the history of the Dawah. They say, do you know what Ottomans, when they went into Najd, they committed a lot of massacres and a lot of crime. And I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that at all. But it's very, very disingenuous for those teaching the history of the Mamlaka, meaning, or shall I say, the Saudi state, the first, second, and the third, were in the first day, that they completely miss out what they were getting up to and the crimes they were perpetrating. So we're going to get into the crimes and the abuses carried out by the Ottomans when they went into Najd. But I'm just saying, you can't cry wolf. You can't point the finger when, if you look for 70 plus years, just review the atrocities that the early Da'wah to Najdiyyah were committed in the local areas. They went to Oman, they went to Mecca, they starved them, made them eat dogs, went to Syria, went to Iraq, went to Bahrain, 1,400 people died, they killed over 1,200 in 2,000 in one place and another place. Can't, claim the moral high ground. You can't claim the moral high ground in any way, shape or form. Anyway, as you can see on screen, it says Junud Ibrahim Basha Tasir ila Dar'iyya. So now they're getting to the capital now. So they've taken Durma and now they're heading towards Ad-Dar'iyya, which is their capital. What happens now, as you can see on screen, it says Ahla Dar'iyya يستعدون اللقاء جنود Ibrahim Basha. That he mentioned the people of Dar'iyya get prepared to meet the forces of Ibrahim Basha. There was fierce fighting between the two camps of Rum and Ahl al-Dar'iyya. What you'll notice now, and again it's lengthy, for about 2-3 pages, it just comments and just brags and boasts about the bravery of the people of Dar'iyya and how they fought off the Ottomans. So I don't want to get into that, but I'm just sort of fast forwarding now. So the next 3 pages just talk about like how they were, how they did muqawama, and and it just sort of, patting themselves in the back. And after all that self-glorification, we had muqawama, etc. We, pushed them out here and we, did this and did that. I don't want to get into it. You can look at it for yourself. As you can see on screen, it says that there was a treaty of surrender from Imam Abdullah after resistance. Okay, so they resisted and then they agreed to surrender and have a treaty. So it says here, ثم أرسلوا إلى الباشا وطلبوا الصلح فأجابهم إليه. So basically he mentions that they sent to Basha and requested a treaty and like a sulh, and he accepted after he was rejected. He was submissive. He was not submissive. He was rejecting this. So basically they agreed now, and this is in the year 1233. So they've agreed now to have a treaty, okay, and they agreed to surrender. What happens next? Maqtal Saud bin Abdullah bin Muhammad bin Saud. So after torturing him and and punishing him and ripping out all his teeth, Maqtal Imam Abdullah ibn Saud fi Istanbul bi Turkey. That they killed, they took him to Abdullah ibn Saud ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Saud to Istanbul in Turkey, and they killed him. That basically ends the first Saudi state. So from 1160, all the way to 1233 or 1234, you see the terror that they were spreading. You see the rashness in Takfir to the point that they, slaughtered tribes just based on association. So they may not have worshipped the trees and the graves that they were alleging other tribes of doing, because they were aiding them. Okay, that was enough proof, according to the understanding of the Dawah to Najdiya, the early Dawah to Najdiya, that's it. They're just as worse as them, and they deserve the fate. And you know what the fate was. They were taking ghanima, they were breaking bridges, they were stealing animals. What we're going to do now is we're going to review Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab's understanding of this now. So we've ended the first Saudi state now, it's finished now. So now we're going to dwell deep now into other matters to show you the chain takfir, okay, and their understanding of their extreme takfiri tendencies. So as you can see on screen, we've got the book Durar al-Sanniya. And the Shaykh was asked, meaning Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, about fighting. What do they fight for and who do they make takfir upon? So he mentions, in short, obviously you can see it on screen, he says that basically he thinks the majority of the people have the deen in which they do shirk with Allah through stones, trees and saints. And according to him, whoever comes to know about the tawheed, meaning according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab's interpretation, and shirk, okay, also according to his interpretation, and still does not abandon shirk and follows tawheed, then he is kafir. And he mentions as well, and the key words you gotta notice, that after mentioning that they worship stones and trees, he says, الَّذِي هُوَ دِينَ الْغَالِبِ النَّاسِ, that this is the religion of the majority of the people. Now what he means the majority of the people, he means the Arabian tribes and those around it. That this was the religion of most of the Arabian tribes, that they worship trees and stones, etc. So you see the mindset. In general he might be correct, okay, but the application is what we disagree with. I believe this was politically motivated, in my opinion, considering what I've read over the 70 plus years that they were behaving. However, although the state of the people of Najd was very bad, he alluded to the fact that this was the deen of the majority of the people, meaning that they, worship trees and stones. And that's obviously a mere assumption, you can't really prove that. Now, as you can see, An-Naw' Thani, okay? An-Naw' Thani, he mentioned that the one who knows Tawheed and Shirk, however, attacks Islam, while also claiming to adhere to Islam and praises, promotes those worshipping saints while attacking the people of Tawheed in their beliefs, then he is a kafir too. Okay, now in regards to the general principle, yes, that is true. However, the problem is with the following. His definition of the people who promote shirk are people who basically still have problematic beliefs with or after Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab's message reached them. Now the question remains, let's ask a question now. I've got the book here, Al-Istighathatu Fil Radd ala al-Bakri. Now this book was written by Ibn Taymiyyah, refuting al-Bakri. Okay, and Ibn Taymiyyah in this whole book accused, I'm going to go into the book as well, he accuses him of all sorts and he goes into his writing. So what he does is he gets his quotes, and his quotes are really bad. I don't want to give anything away, but if you open up the first page, Wallah al-Azim, you'll find it shocking what Bakri was writing. And Ibn Taymiyyah did not make takfir of him once. It's also documented, let's get this out there as well. It's also documented when the change of government happened, when the Mamalik were having a change of government, one of the brother took over the other. That leader wanted to kill al-Bakri. So al-Bakri went and tried to obviously escape or try to hide. Who was the one that hid him? Ibn Taymiyyah. Even though he wrote against him and refuted him, and even in the Muqaddimah, he mentions that he hurt him and he hurt his family. But yet Ibn Taymiyyah helped him and even interceded for him, okay, to the government. Okay, so this is the caliber of the man we're talking about, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. So are you saying that he's the same as Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab in this methodology, or the Dawah to Najdiyyah? Give me a break. Now the question we have to ask is, what is the ruling of Ibn Taymiyyah? Okay, because he had clearly shown enmity to al-Bakri's beliefs of istighatha. Do you understand? He clearly showed enmity towards it, but did not make takfir on al-Bakri. This whole book's here, find it for me. Specific takfir, and remember, he's the caller. He's the one that calls to istighatha ma'a al-anbiya wa ma'a salihin. Wait till I go into it. Wallah al-Azim, is shocking what Bakri was saying. Now as you can see on screen, this is very dangerous, and I would even go to the point to say it's highly condemnable. He says, whoever is upon Tawheed, okay, and loves it, and follows it, and knows shirk, and leaves it, but he hates to enter into Tawheed. So, I did not get that. That does not make any sense. Let's read it again. Okay, as you can see on screen. He knows Tawheed, he loves it, he follows it, so he follows it, and knows shirk, and leaves it, and hates to enter into Tawheed, but loves to stay with shirk. Meaning, sides with the people of shirk. So, again, you see the takfiri tendencies I'm talking about. So a person could know Tawheed, love it, follow it, know shirk, hate it, but according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, he dislikes or hates to enter into Tawheed. That's a contradiction. He just said he followed it, but then now he's saying he hates to enter it. Look at the evidence he uses. Okay, he uses the evidence in Surah Muhammad, where the translation is, that is because they hate that which Allah has sent down, meaning this Quran, So he made their deeds fruitless. And that's in Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, verse 9. If you really want to look deep into this is very problematic. Why? Because if you read the verse before, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about? Okay? Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about? As you can see on screen, verse 8, it states, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَتَعْسًا لَهُمْ وَأَضَلَّ أَعْمَالَهُمْ. It states, but those who disbelieve, for them is destruction, and Allah will make their deeds in vain. That is because they hate which Allah has sent down, so He made their deed fruitless. So this verse, okay, this verse is talking about al-kuffar al-asli, the mushrikun, the ones who hate to enter into Islam. It says, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. He's talking about the kuffar, and this is applied on Muslims. So you see the mindset again. You see what I keep referring to. It's dangerous. Wallah al-Azim, it's absolutely dangerous. Now, to add further evidence to show you the chain takfir of the early Dawah to Najdiyyah, as you can see on screen, you got the book Ad-Dalail, okay? And this was written by Sulaiman bin Abdullah bin Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. So this is the grandson of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, okay? The son ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. It's not even in relation to those who are the Ottoman Turks. But this book was written, okay, this book was written to make takfir on those who aid the Ottomans. So they're kuffar. So the whole book has got nothing to do with the Ottomans per se, even though he makes takfir upon them, but he's making takfir upon those who aid them. And I'll give you one example. And it mentions a verse in Surah Al-Baqarah that talks about those who still want to fight the people and obviously obey them, meaning obviously it's referring to the mushrikeen. And then he mentions, he comments on it, he says, فَأَخْبَرَ تَعَالَى أَنَّ الْكُفَّارِ لَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ حَتَّى يَرُدُّهُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِمْ. So it says that it is mentioned that the kuffar, that Allah mentions that the kuffar continue to fight the Muslims and they want them to turn away from the religion and to obey them, etc. But it mentions right there, so this is referring to those who aid the Ottomans. So he's basically making a takfir upon them, saying that they've entered into ridda if they do this. And then right at the end, as you can see, he says, أَنَّهُمْ أَوْلَى بِعَدَمِ الْعُذْرِ, that they do not have any excuse. وَأَنَّهُمْ كُفَّارٌ مُرْتَدُّونَ, that they are kuffar and murtaddun. So that's basically the grandson of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, making takfir upon those who aid the Ottoman Empire, the Khilafah. So again, you see the early Da'wah to Najdiya, the extreme takfiri tendencies that they had. Now, we're going to get into an important part of the video now. If you remember part 1, if you haven't watched it, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab made takfir on the town of Huraymila. And Huraymila basically aided the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, and they gave a covenant to fight with them and support the religion. But 5 years later they become apostate. This is because Sulaiman ibn Abdul Wahab, who was the brother of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, disagreed with the methodology of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab in relation to his chain takfir and the application. So he wrote letters to Uyayna and Ad-Dar'iyyah and spreading doubts according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. And this book or these risalats or these risalat that he wrote, as you can see on screen, you've got the book here. This book originally was called Fasl al-Khitab fi ar-Rad ala Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. Apparently this was the letter which casted doubts in the hearts of the people of Huraymila and some of the people of Uyayna. So it's vital to look at some parts of this letter, okay? So to understand the criticism that Sulaiman gave to his brother. Now remember, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab made takfir of his brother and also threatened to punish him as well. So just to add that if you didn't watch part 1. Now, under page 31, Sulaiman differs with Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab mostly on the issue of the application of takfir, in the chain takfir, I mean. And Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab not tolerating any opposing views and misunderstanding of Ibn Taymiyyah. Sulaiman also clarifies his aqa'id with regard to shirk and tawheed. After mentioning some ayat about shirk which were used by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, Sulaiman affirms them and he says he has faith in them. And he further basically says how the ayat can be used to apply the hukm of shirk al-akbar to the acts of Muslims when they call upon the dead and saints, etc. So now, to be honest, whilst we can disagree with Sulaiman about his application of shirk al-azghar and shirk al-akbar on his stated actions, he further clarifies his understanding on the following pages. So as you can see, on page 34, he has fil nudur li ghayri lillah, as for swearing by other than Allah, and he writes a full passage quoting Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. Then he mentions about slaughtering then other than Allah under page 35. And he mentions an important point here at the bottom. He says, قال الشيخ التقي الدين كما يفعله الجاهلون بمكة شرفها الله تعالى. Now as the people of the Jahilun, mean the ignorant ones in Mecca, may Allah honor Mecca, وغيرها, من بلاد المسلمين من الذبح للجن. And the Prophet ﷺ did not allow them to slaughter for the jinns. And then he mentions وَلَمْ يَقُلْ شيخ من فعل هذا فهو كافر بل من لم يكفره فهو كافر كما قتلتم أنتم. So he's basically admonishing his brother by saying that the Sheikh did not say, meaning Taqiyuddin Ibn Taymiyyah, that whoever does this is a kafir and whoever does not make takfir upon them is a kafir. Okay, so after quoting Ibn Taymiyyah, obviously Ibn Taymiyyah didn't further go on to say that if you do this you're a kafir, whoever does not agree with their kafir. So basically, as you can see, he affirms the understanding of Ibn Taymiyyah that those who do invoke other than Allah for forgiveness paradise, which only could be granted by Allah, are committing shirk and they are disbelievers by consensus, have to repent or are killed. However, he clarifies that proof against them has to be established first, and he also says that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab has misunderstood a general statement of the scholars with regards to this issue and applies it on particular matters in totality. As you can see as well, he affirms that some of the actions related to tabarruk, from rubbing and taking souls from the graves and tawaf, can be considered shirk. However, they don't constitute shirk al-akbar. Some are only disliked and forbidden. He refers to the works of previous scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and criticizes Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab for not only doing takfir on these actions, but also to takfir on the person doubting the apostasy of a person who engages in such actions. Al-Iqna', which supports this view of Suleiman with regards to labeling the mere action as innovation and something forbidden in relation to those who take the soil and tabarruk, etc., etc. And as you can see on screen, Ibn Taymiyyah says this in Al-Iqna'. Now, this letter has been disputed amongst the fanboys of the Najdiyyah. Some have disputed its authenticity, while others have accepted it. Now, as you can see on screen, we've got the book Dawah Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. And as you can see on screen, Sheikh Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Latif basically affirms this book, and obviously confirms that this letter was from Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab's brother, as you can see. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab responded to the letters and the doubts, according to them, read by his brother. And he wrote a book, called Mufid al-Mustafid. He wrote a book called Mufid al-Mustafid, responding to the doubts of his brother. So the introduction to the letter itself mentions that Mufid al-Mustafid was written as a response to the apostasy, so you can see, to the people of Huraymila, and to counter the doubts of some people of Uyayna. Great. So you can see quite clearly Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab ain't a character that you want to get angry. Now, after mentioning his views on Shirk al-Akbar and Shirk al-Asghar, and how, according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, Suleiman misunderstood Ibn Qayyum, he goes on calling people advocating these views mulhideen, and tries to present Ibn Taymiyyah's position with regards to dealing with the people of Shirk al-Akbar. And he quotes from Ibn Taymiyyah. Now, funny enough, he misquotes Ibn Taymiyyah, from Al-Iqna'. Now, in this passage, according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab and his understanding, rather misunderstanding, and as you'll see, we'll present that, of Ibn Taymiyyah, everyone who does not show enmity to only shirk, but also the people of Shirk al-Akbar, are kuffar. And according to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab's understanding, it is sufficient to refrain from enmity towards the people committing Shirk al-Akbar or doubting their kufr to become a kafir. Now he misquotes Ibn Taymiyyah, and he mentions that Ibn Taymiyyah said, whoever invokes Ali radiallahu anhu is a kafir, and whoever doubts his kufr is also a kafir. He proceeds by saying that someone who doubts the kufr of the person invoking Ali ibn Abi Talib is a kafir, even if he has enmity towards that person and hates his shirk. So with that understanding, anyone who does not have enmity towards the people of shirk and thinks they are Muslim is a kafir. So you see, this sort of chain takfir. Like, if you don't agree he's a kafir, you're a kafir. And so if you could ask the third person, do you believe this guy is a kafir because he believes this and he doesn't believe that person is a kafir? And you could turn around and say, no, but you're a kafir. And then you go to the next person, do you believe? And it's a chain takfir. It just goes on and on and on. So everyone's a kuffar. And then what we know from the actions and what they do, if they believe you're kuffar, you know what I mean? You're not going to last long. Now, what we're going to do is, we're going to show you what Ibn Taymiyyah actually said. We're going to present to you what Ibn Taymiyyah actually said. So as you can see on screen, you got the quote, the exact quote from Ibn Taymiyyah. Now, Ibn Taymiyyah says, word for word, he says, whoever insults the Sahaba, or even one of them, and also joins with the insult of the claim that Ali is divine, or a prophet and Jibreel made a mistake, then there is no doubt about kufr of such person. Then rather there is also not a doubt about the kufr of a person who does not do takfir of him. So this is talking about those who claim Ali radiallahu anhu is divine. As you can see on screen on page 31, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab interprets their opposition to his da'wah and siding with the people who commit shirk and the majority as an insult to Islam, and siding with shirk, and he labels them as apostates and mulhideen, as atheists. Great. He mentions that the scholars and the people of Huraymila believe in shirk al-akbar, and thus refers to their scholars as the scholars of the mushrikeen, and this is page 40-41. But what we're going to do is we're going to end off this video by presenting the quotes that they regularly use. They say, oh, you know what, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab didn't do this and he said this, but his actions are totally different. But let's present these statements. As you can see, we got the book Ad-Durar al-Sanniya, and Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab stated that we do not make takfir of anyone except a man who came to know the truth and rejected it after the proof had been established upon him. So yeah, you see, who is invited to it but does not accept it, shows stubborn resistance and obstinacy. What has been mentioned about us, and that we make takfir of the one who condition is other than this, is a great lie upon us. Okay, and this is one of the beautified statements that they use from Ad-Durar al-Sanniya. Also, we've got the statement that they like to use. As for takfir, then I make takfir on the one who knew the reality of the religion of the messenger, and then after he came to know it, he reviled it, prohibited the people from practicing it, and showed enmity to the one who implemented it. This is the one I declare a disbeliever, and most of the ummah, and all praise is due to Allah, is not like that. Okay, so if that's the case, then why did they go around pillaging towns and tribes and areas throughout the Middle East and beyond? That shows his statement here, in all honesty, doesn't hold any water, because his actions and the historical accounts tell us something different. So this is the end of part 2 of my chain takfir video of the early Da'wah to Najdiyyah. You can say the video is over, an hour and a half long, which shows that this aspect of history of this da'wah is clearly brushed under the carpet. I reiterate again, those who wear the jackets of Islam against extremism, should really ponder. And when you try to wash your hands from the takfiriyun, they in essence are the true followers of the early Da'wah to Najdiyyah, not you guys. You guys are following a watered down, version of it. And as you can see from 1160 to 1233, and you can see the great grandsons and what they wrote, the later sons of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, I can't say anything more than they're extremists. And I find it baffling that you got people who try to use these statements as like proof to say, no, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab wasn't like that. You gotta wake up and smell the coffee, and realize. And again, our deen's bigger than Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. He can be critiqued. You understand what I mean? As I said before, I've got many books, I've got it there, all here. I just don't want to show, look, I don't need to show you that. The Aqidah is very simple. Kitab al-Tawheed is a very simplified book. It's a beautiful book, and Kashf al-Shubahat and Qawaid al-Arba'a and Usul al-Thalatha. These books are very, very beneficial, to understand the Tawheed. Look at the man's actions. We cannot excuse them. He went out and pillaged, and his sons, and who knew the teachings better of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab than his students, and many others after them, the sons of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. At the end of the day, this video was solely created as an academic response. Once again, it's not an attack. And my disclaimer in part 1 is a sincere disclaimer, because we are not going to fall prey to fanaticism. Everyone's statement is taken and rejected. It's an irony, isn't it, that you find people such as these, those who adhere to a Salafiyah, and they go blind followers, taqleed al-a'ma, these, etc, etc. I don't want to say who they point the finger at, but they're the biggest blind followers. I swear to God, it's just shocking, and I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? Yes, amongst the Hanafi circle, you have ghulu and you have ta'assub, no doubt. We're not going to deny that, and that's true. And I say here and now, and I don't know why people are just, trying to accuse me of being Ashari. I'm not an Ashari. I am not an Ashari. I am an Athari. And once again, you could throw labels. So as an announcement, you may have seen the thumbnail straight after this video. There's a very, very important video that will be released in relation to chain tabdir, of those who accuse people of being mubtadi'ah, of being people of innovation. And there's one party that is very, very known and very, very extreme in this, that they label everyone and anyone innovators that don't agree with them. So you could be from amongst Salafis, but if you disagree with them, then you're a person of innovation. And we're going to go into the statements of the Salaf, and we will see and we will contextualize these statements. And this is going to be a powerful video, very powerful. So we've done chain takfir, so we've got that out the way. Now chain tabdi' is coming, so watch out for that video. This is going to be an eye-opener, and you've had a good run, lads. You've had a good run for over 2 decades. Now your reality is going to come out from the books itself. You know, and you know, when it comes to bro Hajji, you know that I bring receipts, you know I bring references and sources. So it's not going to be a video with me sitting here with no references. We're going to show the reality, and we're going to show you how you've been getting away with making tabdi' and accusing people of being people of innovation, using statements where in reality, once I present it, you are going to be absolutely embarrassed. And those that have been spearheading this campaign, hang your head in shame, lads. We're gonna continue to show you for the fraud you guys are, and I warn you that you're not gonna get away with it. So take care of yourselves, make dua for me, support the channel. You know, your simple brother, bro Hajji. You know, if anything that I've said is, you know, I've made a mistake, or if you feel you disagree with me, feel free to contact me. You know, you can send me an Instagram message, Twitter, Facebook, email me. Wallah al-Azim, I'm a layman, and I'm just doing my little bit. I ask Allah to accept this from me, you know, for all the little knowledge that I got, the atom of worth of knowledge that I got, that I'm trying to spread. Wallahi, don't expect too much of me. Wallah al-Azim. And if you find a mistake, please let me know, and I'll be the first one to come out publicly and retract. Wallah al-Azim. So I love you all for the sake of Allah. Make dua for me, please, because I'm in need of your du'as, and I likewise will make dua for all of you. Take care of yourselves. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
كالطير أغناها وقد جابت سماء كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البلاء بشر وشيطان يحاصرني أبا كم مرة قد أظلم الدرب